Where it go?
There we go. All right, welcome back, everybody. We are here. We made it to episode 3. Tony, how you doing?
I am doing well, and as you can see, I don't have my video games behind me today because I've taken the family on a brief vacation. We are staying at a stately manor somewhere in the Yorkshire Moors.
Oh, wow,
And,
sounds really upscale there.
It sounds upscale. But it's kind of is and it kind of isn't. But I could not travel without RetroMania.
There you go. Love it. Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. You know, I don't just do this for the lots of human monies. I do this for the love of the game because I actually do love this game. So yeah, I'm traveling with my Switch 2. It's a very fun couple of days with the family. And you know, I read the comment section on episode 2, and I have to say the comment section on this are just delightful. They seem so nice and genuinely interested in what the story you've got. Much different from my other podcast. So I'm very, very happy, but I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm doing great. We're busy. You know, in the RetroMania world, we're waiting on certification for our patch 7 to get that out. Awesome. Other than that, we're just cruising along, looking at what we're going to do in the future and planning this episode, which was really interesting to me, to dive back into old emails and see there's some stuff I forgot about, you know.
Yeah, we have
and I think most people maybe have blocked this out of their mind. The Ouya
wow
is back.
Ouya. Yeah, I mean, it's a shame that Macho Man wasn't around when the Ouya was around. You know, he could have been the perfect spokesperson. But so are you trying to tell me that RetroMania was originally an Ouya project?
Not really. That was clickbaity.
Okay.
That was clickbaity of me.
Okay.
So I guess we'll kind of we'll start where we left off. Like last week, I had gotten the cease and desist from Big Bad Wrestling Company, and really deterred me. And then WrestleFest for the iPad came out. Another. So now I'm like, what am I gonna do? And I kind of had it in my mind. I wanted to make a game, and I kind of went away actually from wrestling. I completely forgot about this until I was going back through my emails. So around 2012, this new exciting game console was announced that was going to take the world by storm. Android-based, custom OS in your living room. Take all of your mobile games into the living room and plug it up to your TV. And I was like, sign me up. I love the Kickstarter. I somewhere have it. I think an unopened, like Founders Edition Ouya. Like I got to pull it out. I couldn't find it quickly, but it's buried somewhere in my house.
Wow.
And I'm pretty sure they're not worth anything.
I mean, do they even work now? Could you still? Yeah, like
hashtag RetroMania on the Ouya for anyone. Give me a comment in this section if you want to see RetroMania ported to the Ouya. But
amazing. Oh, fantastic! All right, so you heard about the Ouya and thought this is cool.
Yeah. So there was actually another thing I was big into at the time. There's a fighting game engine called Mugen. And this is like a not open source software, but free to download, free to play. The actual software was closed source. They didn't release the source code. But basically, people were ripping sprites out of any game you can think of to make a 2D fighting game. So it was like Homer Simpson versus Peter Griffin from the Family Guy. Ronald McDonald versus the Colonel from Kentucky Fried Chicken, you know? Along with every Street Fighter rip, Mortal Kombat rip, like every fight, Neo Geo games rips, every kind of 2D artwork that you could grab on the internet and rip from games, people were putting in this Mugen. I always say it wrong. I think it's Mugen software, and people were creating these full fan projects, which were really cool. Of like the ultimate Mortal Kombat that had like 100 Mortal Kombat characters, or the ultimate like versus game, and it had everybody under the sun in this one game. So it was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were in there, X-Men characters. Then there was a group called Scruffy Dragon, and I think it's still somewhat around now, doing some stuff. But their whole big was Marvel versus DC. There was this huge project, a fan project called Marvel vs. DC. So they took some of the sprites, because at the time there was a Marvel versus Street Fighter out during this.
Yes. Yeah.
So I like that game. You know, I played it in the arcades and stuff. And I like the whole Marvel superheroes. There was a X-Men, Children of the Atom. So they took all of these sprites, and then they were making the DC counterparts of those sprites. Either by like taking those sprites and just, I think it was called like Franken spriting or something, where you take bits and pieces from other characters and create the DC version of them. But some of them were flat out artists that just redrew all of these sprites, and it never finished. They released some of the characters, but they never really truly finished that game. But it was pretty far along. I think they released a version of it you could play with, but it was really cool. So that got me thinking, and I was like, well, I was still like kind of pissed about the whole cease and desist and the iPad thing, and I'm like, whatever I do, they're going to shut down. And I just didn't have a clear head around it. Because at the time, I wanted to relive my glory days of 16 years old, 1991, in the arcade, you know, spending $5 to get thrown out of WrestleFest in the Retro Rumble, or the Rumble, I should say. And I decided I would pivot to the Ouya. All right. And you're right, man. What a marketing. That would have been great to get now. Obviously, Randy Savage has since passed. I'm not sure what year he passed away in, but there's some impersonators. Maybe I get like Dan Soder. He's a comedian, does a great Macho Man impersonation. If anybody knows him, reach out. Maybe we get him in an update at some point. But
maybe we get Jay Lethal.
Jay Lethal, another one. And there was a guy in WCW, another comedian, Will Sasso, I think his name is.
Yes.
He does a bunch of impersonations. So I think we could have got a good Macho Man impersonator to hype the Ouya. I think they had him. Maybe that's why they failed. You know what I mean?
Maybe they just didn't have the right 80s wrestler to help promote the products. But, you know, the Ouya, from the, I remember the Kickstarter as well. It actually seemed like a really, this is great. You could just play mobile games on your TV, because sometimes I remember playing mobile games on an iPad, and I bought like a little thumbstick that's stuck on the screen so you could control it. Like, I did genuinely like mobile gaming, but sadly the Ouya is relegated to the past now.
Yeah, unfortunately. So anyway, with the Scruffy Dragon thing, so I reached out to a couple, of the developers that were working in this Mugen engine. And I said, hey, would you guys like to do an actual 2D fighting game? Because they were writing, there was a scripting language within Mugen that you wrote the code that ran in the engine to program your characters in. So it wasn't like full-blown C++ programming. They had already done the kind of heavy lifting, and they wrote their own or used an existing scripting engine that was compatible with, I forget the details of it. And there's still a viable community around Mugen, and there's still people working on projects, releasing games. It's still a pretty thriving community, even though the engine hasn't been updated in I want to say like 10 years is the last time they put it updated. I could be wrong.
But the engine actually worked.
So
you know, okay.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, let me rile up some of the all-stars of that community, and let's do our own fighting game. So I had this idea for basically called Myth Wars. And if you want to pull up our first character that we started creating for this one, there's Ouya. Go to the there we go.
There we go.
So this is some concept art that we made of Medusa. So the concept here was, since I had this IP issue with the wrestling game, what can no one go after me for? Like, where am I not going to get a cease and desist? So all of these, this is all public domain stuff. Like Medusa, even though she's in Clash of the Titans or whatever other IP, it's all public domain IP. So there was that Winnie the Pooh movie that came out, like the horror movie with Winnie the Pooh a couple years ago.
That's right. Yeah, the Blood and Honey or something. Right.
Yeah. So that was all that was because Winnie the Pooh was old enough that it went into public domain. So anybody could use it. That's why they didn't have to license that. They just used it at this point. It was old enough. So that was my idea. It's like, I'm going to go after these like Greek and even some Roman and some Aztec mythological, creatures or people, and do a fighting game on that. And I'm kind of surprised that it was a little bit done with Darkstalkers. I think it wasn't called Darkstalkers in the UK. It was called it was with Dracula and the Mummy. I think Frankenstein. Was it Wolfman? What was it called over there? It was Capcom. It was Darkstalkers here, but I think it had a different name over there.
I believe it was called Night Warriors here.
It was. That was it. Night Warriors.
Yeah.
So that was a similar concept where all of those IP, Capcom didn't create them. It was all public domain stuff that they kind of had their own spin on it. So I was like, all right, well, why don't I do that? And I still think this idea holds up. I wouldn't mind doing it at some point. Yeah. I think a lot of video game companies won't want to take the chance on an IP-ish thing that can be ripped off if it gets popular. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah.
So we did that and we took it pretty far. So interesting how this relates to RetroMania. In other words, the artist I met who did that Medusa image actually did all the caricatures that are on our webpage for RetroMania now.
Oh, so sweet.
And that's on the title screen. So all of those characters, this is how I met this artist. His name, Fran and Miguel, are the two artists that worked on this with me. And I just formed that relationship now 14 years ago, and they still are working with me. So
that's awesome.
It had a play in RetroMania, even though the Ouya went nowhere. It still had its foundation of, I feel like
these are the same guys that did this.
Myth Wars. Yep.
Wow. They were behind Myth Wars. Let me just wow, yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, if you go to the next one, go to the next image here. There's a couple more of these, I think. That next one.
Oh, there we go.
Is kind of like our in-game character. And then I think the last one is the coolest one. Is that we do have one animation.
This is so cool.
We have one animation net. Here it is. So that was Medusa. And I couldn't find another one. We actually have one of her dodging backwards and pulling out a bow and firing it.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so that was that was as far as we got, though. The one character. We have some other concept art of some other images. I think Anubis from Egyptian mythology we had.
Oh.
So I think the concept, free concept, anybody wants to run with it. I think I would play that game and I would buy it. If you're interested in making something like that. But to do a game, and we were going to go, another game that was really popular then and still now has a following is Skullgirls. So it was that hand-drawn, hand-animated art style that I really liked. What eventually scared me away was two things. Ouya completely falling apart
right,
and doing nothing. And then the cost of the artwork to what Skullgirls does, and that kind of, and the other one is Cuphead, is another kind of similar hand drawn. It's really expensive to do that type of artwork. Obviously can be done, and Cuphead had a huge hit. Skullgirls was a huge hit. I just, for my first game that I wanted to do commercially and spend my own money on, I didn't really want to take a chance at that point.
Of course,
and do something like that. But I bought, I think, 4 Ouyas. I sent them to the team. Hey, we're in the Ouya business, guys and girls. I think I had one artist. She was out of the South somewhere, Georgia, I want to say. Another guy from the Mugen world. He was, I think, out of Ohio. Somebody was in Mexico, and we had 2 artists in Spain. So, we were organized. I think we had 3 or 4 meetings to get this kind of kickoff meetings, and then the wheels fell off, unfortunately. So then we moved to Stadia. I'm just kidding. We never did Stadia.
Another smash hit. I actually own a Stadia. I did. I bought a Stadia, and I actually liked it as well. The streaming was the first time I'd done game streaming, and I was like, wow, this is cool. And then it all the wheels fell off, as you say.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think it had some good ideas. Just it's tough. It's a tough market to break into. But so Myth Wars and Ouya fell apart at the same time period. Now we're into this is all 2012, 2013. 2014, I got really big into the Neo Geo, just collecting. I started collecting not AES. AES is the home console. I was MVS, which was the arcade machine. So I found on Facebook Marketplace, or maybe it was the Neo Geo forum, somebody selling a big 4-slot big red Neo Geo machine, arcade machine. Cheap, super cheap, but it needed to be restored. So I bought it for, I want to say, I don't think I spent more than $500 on it, if that. It was pretty cheap.
Wow. Whoa.
And I started buying, I have a spreadsheet somewhere of how much I spent, because I started charting. I bought a bunch of MVS games, and they were cheap though. They're $25 here. You get a lot for $300 and get 10 games. So my average cost for a game was under $50. Now I did splurge at the time. All these have even skyrocketed. You can get a couple cheap now, but even the MVS have gone up in value 10 years later from that, a lot. And I've hence sold them all to do something else. I just wasn't using it enough, the arcade, and I probably used it to fund some other. I think I might have sold that to fund the early RetroMania development. Now that I think about it.
Oh, okay.
But so this is 2014. I bought the big red. I tore everything. The whole thing was I was going to do it myself.
Right.
So
okay.
I gutted the whole thing. I stripped all of the side art because the side art was ruined. I stripped the old vinyl off of it. I found the color match of the red vinyl to do.
Oh, okay.
A friend of mine who was also big into this, an online friend, had a stencil of the Neo Geo side art. So I never even got that far though. I ripped everything out. I sourced a repro of the control panel overlay. I outsourced and got all of the metal pieces powder coated by a local shop. Pretty cheap. It was only a couple pieces, including the cover of the inside board, which was a 4-slot where the cartridges went. So I got everything powder coated. I got the board. I sent that off to get recapped, the motherboard for that did everything. So I really I found that I'm better at managing these things than doing them myself. So it was a good idea that, I'll do it in my spare time. Meanwhile, I got 3 kids under the age of 15. I'm coaching all their basketball teams. There's just so much, and I still hang out with my wife, so there's only so much free time. And I'm rolling off of Myth Wars, which was a time sink, and nothing came out of it.
And you have a full-time job as well.
And, and I'm working full-time. So, and we were super busy there. So something had to give. So I ended up, there's a company called TNT Amusements near where I live, maybe 45 minutes to an hour away. They redo arcade machines. They have a store. They do birthday parties. I don't know if they still do birthday parties, but they have a big warehouse and they sell stuff. Todd from TNT, I got a hold of him. And I said, hey, I got all the parts, and now I have nothing wired now. They were kind of annoyed after I brought it to them. Dude, why did you unwire everything? I'm like, because I wanted to do it from scratch. I just wanted the original pieces and do it. So I gave it to him, and it took him 6 months. I was in no rush. It looked amazing. So I got it back, probably 2015. I think I kept it for 2 years. I also have a MAME machine, emulation machine, arcade machine in my basement. And that always got more play than Neo Geo. And we had Neo Geo games on that as well. So I do like the original hardware. And there was the whole collection aspect of it too. I just won this auction. I snipered this thing off of eBay real cheap, But then I was I wanted a little seed money to roll into RetroMania. And I found that I got to say, I probably had over 100 MVS carts now at this point.
Wow. Okay.
And the prices of them, I probably got double what I bought them for. So it's this is a nice little seed money to hire somebody, which we'll get to at the end of this, what I'll tease into the next show. But so I ended up doing the Neo Geo. So the reason I bring up Neo Geo, the next idea after Myth Wars, and I'm collecting Neo Geo, I'm going to make a Neo Geo game now. That's what I'm doing. So there's a homebrew guy, Jeff, I forget his last name off the top of my name, but he did a game called Knight's Chance on the Neo Geo. And it was like a puzzle-ish gambling kind of game on the Neo Geo, cool artwork. So I bought the collector's edition of that. And I was like, why don't I make a Neo Geo game? I know nothing about developing Neo Geo games.
Right.
Android had more documentation developed for the Ouya, than there was for Neo Geo. But I'm like, let me contact a guy who made a game. And he was interested. So we came up with, we're going to do, and this is like, when's the Olympics? Summer Olympics was 2012, and then 2016 was the next Summer Olympics, right? So we're in this 2015 time frame now. We're going to do a Summer Olympics style game.
Oh, okay.
So another one of my favorite games going up was actually track and field, both in the arcade and on the NES. NES, I should say, for you, right? We don't say that. We don't say that here.
No, I only ever played it in the arcade because I didn't see an NES until I was like 14 years old.
Yeah, you were on the Sega Master System was more popular, right? Yeah,
right. Yeah.
But so I had it on the NES. Actually, I didn't have it. One of my buddies had it on the NES, but I played it in the arcade, and there was the whole trick. If you had a pencil or something, you could hit it back and forth to run and everything. But
yeah.
So the next thing was, all right, my idea was we're going to do a track and field game. So I found a Neo Geo artist. I think it was like some art page where he had just done some fan art for Neo Geo and a couple handful of animations. So I reached out to this guy and I'm like, hey, you want to do a Neo Geo game? I got the guy who made Knight's Chance involved. He's interested. So if you want to pull up that next thing, this is as far as we got here. I don't think a single line of code was written. If you go to the last image, we have a Neo Geo style.
Sorry, it's technology.
Oh, good. There we go. So this is a hammer thrower, ball thrower, or that we were going to do on the Neo Geo. So
that
totally
looks awesome.
Looks Neo Geo style. So
100% looks like I would play that. Definitely.
Yeah. So that was kind of just some concept artwork that was done. And that was going to be our next thing. We were 2015, and this is so how naive I was at the time. 2015, we want to launch for the Olympics that are happening in 2016. Right? It's early 2015, the Summer Olympics. We got a year and a half, no problem. We'll pump this out. How many events do we need? Let's try to get 8 to 10 events in here. Just like, I was clueless. I was completely clueless.
If you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, I won't take the full blame because Jeff and this artist were like, yeah, we can do it. Like, so maybe they were just humoring me. This guy will go away eventually. And,
maybe, or maybe they thought they could do it,
Right. So we do that. We talk about it for probably 2 months. We get this concept art. Then, I think Jeff was waiting to clear up some time. I was going to fund it, and we just did. It didn't go anywhere. So that gets us to the inklings of RetroMania proper. Right. So now, end of 2015, or I guess we're into 2016 now. The Olympics come and go.
Right.
And we don't have a game out. So Ouya, crash and burn. Neo Geo, crash and burn. Now what am I going to do? So I take a step back and I'm like, all right, why did Ouya fail? Well, Ouya failed because Ouya failed. I had a plan in place. We had a good idea, but it wasn't completely thought out. And I was relying on other people to kind of see my vision. So I thought my next step is I need to code the prototype myself. So I have coding experience. Like I think I alluded to the first episode, like I'm in the finance and accounting world. So I have database programming experience. I did some game code programming for my my master's that I got in software engineering. So I'd done a little bit in school, nothing at this point. That was like at least 5 years removed from that. But I'm like, I'm going to learn how to code. So Android was out and I wasn't going to do it on the Neo Geo. So now it's like, what engine am I going to pick? Right. So my options at the time, Unity was a thing. Unreal was a thing. There was no Godot is another open source one now. Godot, however you want to say it. That didn't exist back then. But the other one I was looking at was there was like an RPG maker which was sprite based. So I'm sorry, I skipped a little bit. I'm back on the wrestling thing now.
You're back on the wrestling, yeah. The Olympics is gone. So
yeah, Olympics is gone. I'm back in wrestling. So I have
Did the Olympic one go anywhere? Sorry, did there, other than that screenshot, was there any animation or anything like the Medusa?
Yeah, we have one animation, I couldn't find it, of the guy just spinning. Not even releasing the hammer, just spinning, and that was it.
Okay.
So probably like a 10 frame animation, and that was it.
Got it. Right. So you left that back onto wrestling. Okay.
Yep. So now we're 2016. I'm back into wrestling. I have a sprite sheet. So I have some graphics I can use as a programmer to kind of put in as placeholder stuff to kind of see the formation of, what becomes RetroMania. Yeah. So we had Mr. Perfect, almost an entire sprite sheet of Mr. Perfect. And we had $1 Million Man and Jake the Snake and Mr. Perfect all walking to the ring. So in RetroMania, we used a similar perspective of that style where when they're announced, they walk from the back of the screen to the front of the screen. So you see them. So we use that same perspective, and I ripped those sprites out. So, but I had no idea how I was going to do that. So I had to take a step backward. You can't just, and this is here the more you know, for any game developers watching that maybe aren't as interested in RetroMania, but are interested in just my game development journey. So again, just to recap, I'm going in next to no game programming experience. What was my road to eventually release RetroMania? So my first step was I need to learn an engine somehow. All right. Now, obviously, I think that's going to sound pretty obvious to anyone listening to this. After I said that out loud, yeah, no shit.
Well, I mean,
yeah, it would help if you knew something, right?
Little bit does help, yeah.
Right. So I thought, I went to YouTube, and we're in 2016 now, and I didn't have to spend a dime to start taking some game development courses. So I did my research. There was some cost associated with Unreal and Unity at the time that is not as steep now. There's some significant licensing costs there that I was trying to avoid. Because again, at this point, I have no idea if I'm going to make a dime from this. So it's basically a glorified hobby at this point that I'm going to sink some money into. But Game Maker was like $99 for a license, just for a PC license. Okay. So, and that's why I ended up, and it was pretty strong. Actually, stronger in pixel art at the time than Unity or Unreal was, from what I found. So it was a pretty. It uses something called GML for it's like a scripting language again, but it's a little more forgiving if you're not coming from like a C++ or a C. It's a little bit easier of a learning curve, and they actually did have. Now I didn't go this route, but they did have a drag and drop, like GUI paste program where you don't have to write a line of code. So it had that, which I ended up not using at all. I just basically, I found the big thing when you're programming, even in not game dev, but in anything, is hello world. Your first programming. I think I mentioned this before, right?
Yes.
So I found a game maker studio, and this is before 2.0. This is Game Maker 1.4 probably. And I found a hello world, and I started programming. So
cool.
I found like a platform tutorial that took you through building a platform game. Now, it had nothing to do with wrestling, but you have to crawl before you can walk, and before I was just running. I was running, and I'm like, hey, Ouya, let's go, Ouya.
I'm all in on Ouya.
Yeah, so let's take a step back and let's kind of like get an idea of what you're up against, because there's a lot of things like that I would learn in going through this. A platformer was a little easy because you have a sprite, easy-ish. I don't want to say it's easy because to do a good one, it's hard.
No, yeah.
But easier than a wrestling game, I should say. So I was like, let me start small. I know I can make basically the equivalent of Super Mario 1. In that I can make a guy walk, I can make him jump onto a platform, and I can make him jump on top of an enemy. And that's all I did. That's what I started with. I like let me scale it back because it was a little daunting. Like, how am I going to make a wrestling game? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. How am I going to do it? So let's take a step back. You got to start somewhere. Let's just make a platformer and get that done. And that's what I did.
Okay,
so
cool.
I created that platformer, and I started to get into, RetroMania. I started to get into game development, started to learn Game Maker Studio, and I used all these tutorials that were freely available online to get it in. So the next step was I got comfortable with that. Now that, keep in mind, from a time period standpoint, that's months. Like I did that over probably 5 months. So if I said we were in 2016, we're probably the beginning of 2016. I'm into 2016, early 2017 now at this point, where I'm learning Game Maker. I'm learning how to make platform game. I got 5 months of that under my belt, and I put a lot of time into it. Free nights, free weekends. I was spending a lot of time learning this. Keep in mind, I did have a programming background, so I was able to pick it up fairly quickly.
Right.
It wasn't completely new to me. Then I'm like, all right, let me start doing something with wrestlers again. So I think that's probably a good segue into our next episode when we do RetroMania.
Okay.
Really.
So the next step was RetroMania.
Yeah. So we're up to, so we're, after 3 episodes, we covered basically me putzing around for 5 years, 6 years of just trying to figure out that I wanted to make it, and once I finally got into Game Maker, that was kind of the first step. But at this point, to kind of recap the first 2 episodes in this, it's like all of these things were lessons learned, right? So, and I made contacts throughout this that ended up working on what became RetroMania from the art side. And I learned how to hire an artist, and I'll get into that a little bit next time too. How sprites were used in those classic games like WrestleFest. In having to grab them and take them out and use them in my prototype, which I'll talk about. And I think I lied last time because I think we were going to go into the art piece of this, but that's what we will definitely go into next episode, because that was one of the first kind of lessons learned and struggles I had was with why wrestling games are so tough to make. And it specifically relates to the art.
Okay.
But that'll be a good segue. But, all of those steps to get to this point, and I have not coded a line of code yet on RetroMania, so it took me 6 years to really get enough courage to really take the plunge and learn enough lessons that I kind of knew, had a little bit of an idea at this point, not much, but a little bit of a clue on what I wanted to do and the direction that this project needed to take.
And so if this is the beginning of, say, 2017 now, when did RetroMania actually launch? It was 2020...
February 2021.
21. So, I mean, that is...
Oh, we got a lot more to talk about.
Game development, I know game development takes a heck of a long time. Some of these games are in development for decades before they even come out. Some don't even come out after they've had years and years of development. But at the start of 2017, the vision was already there. You knew what you wanted to do. Right. That's so cool.
I mean, so at that point, and we'll get into it because this is a whole episode, I wasn't sure. I knew I wanted to make a wrestling game, and I knew I couldn't use licensed IP that I didn't own. Right?
Yeah.
So those are the 2 things I learned in the first 5 years. Well, two of the things, many things that I learned in the first 5 years of doing this is, you got to license your IP. So I I got a lawyer around this time too.
Yes, you mentioned. Yeah, lawyer up.
Yeah. So right now I'm starting to I don't want to jump ahead too much. We'll get into that. But I definitely learned I needed legal advice to get on this journey. And I need to get a little more serious about it. Like a lot of people can say, yeah, I'm going to make a game. I'm going to make a wrestling game. And until you learn what really needs to go into doing that, and anyone who's done it knows, even if you haven't finished or if you started, you realize pretty quickly it's a big effort to create a game. And create a good game is even harder to do.
Yeah.
And even I feel like where we were in 2021 and where we are in 2026 is night and day. Like if you would think we released a sequel, how much with the free updates we released, then finally a paid DLC what I was comfortable charging more money for, until we got the game up to a point that I felt comfortable charging more money. I feel like, all right, now that game is worth the price tag. Now I feel this content is worth the price tag. And I felt comfortable doing that. But yeah, so from 2012, it's like, or 2011 to 2026, it's 15 years to get to the point I'm at now,
Wow. I mean, what a journey. I am so grateful to be on this journey with you. Like I watch our episodes because I'm like, man, there's some stuff in here I need to learn. It's so cool. And like I said at the start of the episode, I do read the comments as well as Mike does as well. And it's really nice. It seems like there's a really cool community around wanting to hear this story, which is really, really cool. So make sure you are subscribed to RetroSoft on YouTube. Make sure you're following on Instagram and X. I always want to say Twitter, but it's X now. I literally can't wait until next week. Like I'm on vacation and I wanted to record this episode because I was like, I've got to hear more of this story. So
cool. we start going to second gear next episode on RetroMania. So
cool.
These first three are kind of the backstory to chronicle it. And honestly, I've really enjoyed it because going back and looking through old emails, like I said, I completely blocked out the Ouya from my life. Like that, maybe I went to a psychiatrist and said, can you not remember the Ouya?
I just, as much as this Neo Geo thing that you showed, that game, honestly, that looks awesome. That genuinely, I could believe 100%, that's a Neo Geo game. Yeah, I've seen that, or I could probably have hazy memories of I'm sure I played that, but this bad boy, well, that is a blast from the past. So, thank you for reminding me of the Ouya.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Well,
you never know. Now AES Plus is coming out in a couple months. That new SNK console, you never know. Maybe we get something. Yeah. I think 3 Count Bout needs a resurgence.
I mean,
Fire Suplex.
I already have pre-ordered my Neo Geo because it was so insanely expensive at the time. I never owned one as a kid. I couldn't expect my parents to spend $150 on a game. No chance. So I am looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to more Wrestling with Game Dev. So we'll be back with you next week.
Next week. Sounds good.